For those of you who know me well, you know that I cannot stand behind a podium for the life of me. I'm going to do my best though, Dan. I have a hard time even holding a microphone. Cameras have a hard time following me. But I'm going to do my best to sort of stay planted in this general area. Hey Dan, how much time do we have?
As much as you want.
No, you're not going to make that call at 9. If anything, we're going to be home at 9.
Jeff is usually our timer.
Hey Jeff, where's Jeff? I thought what I would do is this. Take about 15 to 20 minutes and try to depress the heck out of you. And then let's open this up to questions. Questions about anything. You can ask me about what John Boehner's really like. You can ask me about how short Nancy Pelosi really is. You can ask me about anything. And then I'm going to close by asking something very specific of you. In fact, the Joe Walsh Show will be on any minute on the radio back home, and we'll give you information on the radio show. But before I get started, let me do what I'm always most comfortable doing when I'm with people in an open town hall, an open forum, an open meeting. Thank God you say the pledge. Thank God we say the pledge. To the greatest, most inspiring country God has ever created. And our politicians, Republican and Democrat, Boehner, Pelosi, Reid, McCain, 164-year-old John McCain, they all complicate so much. This country was founded upon one word, one idea. The only country in the history of this planet founded upon an idea. Freedom. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Nothing more than that. Nothing. And over the course of the last 234 years, our Republican and our Democratic elected officials have done their best to complicate and bastardize and remove that one word. So thank God we acknowledge. We say a pledge and we acknowledge that word. The second ritual we should always do when patriots meet is to acknowledge the men and women in our presence who have died, who have been wounded, who have been scarred, who have been maimed, who have worn the uniform to defend that idea. Not yet. We're close. Hey, if you wore the uniform and you served this great, good, decent country, stand up, raise your hand, and be recognized. I love it because they don't want that recognition. Isn't that great? That's what makes the men and women who serve this country so wonderful. I'm just going to throw things everywhere. It took us about, 4.5, 5 hours to get down. I say this everywhere I go in the state of Illinois. When I drive, ride my bike, get on a plane, or walk away from the city of Chicago, my smile brightens every darn mile. When I can wave goodbye to Rahm Tiny, talk about tiny Rahm Emanuel, I smile. What a I'll be careful. I mean, every word I say ends up in some video. I'll be careful. But
Yes.
we become so clouded when you live next to that city. Helene and I, Barb, Cliff and I, we live in a suburb of Chicago, McHenry. We're about 30, 40 miles outside the city. But the city's right there. And when you drive away from that city and you come down here, over here, you realize what a wonderful state this is. And man, you want to cry. Because we're losing this state. No, let me take that back. Let me take that back. We're losing this country. God help us, we've lost Illinois. We're losing this country. Young people, listen to me. We're losing this country. We've lost Illinois. I want to talk about what's wrong, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about what's wrong, because we know what's wrong. I want to talk about who's to blame, because we don't think enough about who's to blame. I want to tell you that we don't have a lot of time. I didn't think we had a lot of time before I went to Washington. I'm convinced now we don't have much time. And then I'm going to ask you, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to explain to you, I think the only way we can save this country. Do I think we can do it? I don't know. If I had $1,000 and I was in Vegas right now, would I bet? Would I put that money down and say that America can be saved? And when I ask if America can be saved, I'm not talking about this country. I'm not talking about the America most people recognize today. I'm not talking about the America most of our kids are educated and taught about today. I'm talking about the America that some very wise men 234 years ago began. We're this close to losing that America. And if you don't believe me, spend some time in the city of Chicago with me. Go spend a week in Washington with me. Go spend a night in Springfield with me when they're in session. We're in trouble. This great, good, decent country is broke. Beyond broke. When a Republican or a Democrat tells you we're $16 trillion in debt, it's a lie. It's a lie. We're about 130 or 40 trillion dollars in debt. I don't know what that means. You don't know what that means. That's not good. The next time a politician tells you our unemployment rate is 7.7 or 7.9 or 7.8%, it's a lie. It's a lie. And every Republican and Democrat in Washington knows it's a lie. We have a real unemployment rate in this country of about 15 to 16% when you count up everybody in America who's trying to find a job. When you count everybody in America who's working part-time because they can't find full-time work. We're broke and we're not working. We're broke and we're not working. It always amazes me because this free country was always the place where if you had a great idea, if you wanted to invent something, if you wanted to start something, if you wanted to build something, if you wanted to go work somewhere, it was always here that you could do it. We're miles away from that. Miles. Barack Obama, and Lord knows, I've gotten in more trouble talking about Barack Obama than darn near anybody. Barack Obama, let's be clear, we understand it. He was never ready to be president. He got elected because he's our first black president, made everybody feel just rosy inside, made young people just dance, made the whole country feel wonderful. He had no business getting elected. We know that, and now we're living with that. But Barack Obama, folks, he didn't start this. He's like the final straw. It would have been fun to have been in Congress when George W. Bush was my president. Because I'd have gone after George W. Bush with everything I had. Do you remember the good old days? The good old days when we ran $400 to $500 billion deficits every year? The good old George W. Bush days? Not that long ago? Republicans and Democrats have been doing this for years. If you want to talk about a country that's broke, if you want to talk about a country that's broken, if you want to talk about a country that's not working, if you want to talk about a country that's not free, and don't say that lightly, because I'll bet you 20, 30 years ago, you didn't think you'd live in a country where your government could force a Catholic priest to pay for and subsidize a product that goes against his very faith. I'll bet you didn't think 20 years ago you'd live in a country where your government can force you to buy something because you breathe. Bet you never thought you'd live in a country where you'd have an idiot for a mayor in New York who thinks he can tell us, oh, this is too big. You can't drink out of this. Bet you'd never think you'd live in a country where today the state of Connecticut just became the first gun-free zone for an entire state, passing the most restrictive gun control measures we've ever seen. The state of Connecticut is about to almost ban guns for every law-abiding citizen in that state. I'll bet you never thought you'd live in a country like this. Now, let's brush by where we are, because we all know that. That's why you're here. That's why you come to these meetings every month. You know everything I just said, you know. Who's to blame? Let's start with the bad guys. I used to be one of the bad guys. I was in Washington for 2 years. Let's start with our politicians. Yes, if the country's broke and the country's broken and we're not free, our politicians are to blame. No doubt about it. Not just Democrats, Republicans as well. We talked about, Obama. When Obama gets elected in 2008, he grabbed his football and he ran as fast as he could that way. Right? Every single step he took made government bigger and bigger and bigger, and he spent more and more money, and he ran as fast as he could. But be honest. If 164-year-old John McCain had been elected in 2008, where was he going? He was going that way. He can't run that fast. He wouldn't have run that fast, but he was going that way. Can you remember the last politician, the last elected official who went the other way? Reagan. Ah, Reagan. Close. Close. The only one in my lifetime who said that way's not good. I'm either going to stand here and fight to make sure we don't go that way, or I'm going to walk or run that way.
How about Coolidge?
I'm not that old.
I know, Cleveland. Grover Cleveland.
Grover Cleveland. Our politicians have done this to us. If you're a politician, your goal in life is what? To win elections, to get reelected. So every election comes along, and they think the way to get elected is to do what? To give you stuff, to take care of you, to promise you things, to make government programs bigger. If I give you stuff, you will give me your vote. We have trained them wonderfully to do this. And they all do it. Obama is the poster child. But they all do it. Scratch your heads. How did Obama win? Right? The worst recovery since the Great Depression. The worst economy since the Great Depression. How in God's name did he win? Very smart. He targeted 3 groups of people. Women, minorities, young people. Women, minorities, young people. Women, minorities, young people, and he spent the entire campaign giving them things. Minorities, he snapped his fingers, Latinos, twice. Executive orders legalizing illegal immigrants. Young people, worried about their student loans, snapped his fingers and said, I'll keep those student loan rates really low, and in fact, understand what I'm saying. I'll bail you out of your student loans. Women, contraception for life. We may not need it that long. Abortions till you're sick of them. And that's how we won. Obama didn't win white people. Obama didn't win married people. Obama didn't win independents. Obama didn't win people over 50 years old. He lost all of that. But he won Hispanics, he won young people, and he won single women going away. It's why he won the election. Brilliant, brilliant campaign. We've trained our politicians to give us stuff to get elected. And so what they've done, Republican and Democrat, election after election, is come to us and give us things. And we've given them our vote. Dan mentioned how when I went to Washington, I turned down all my benefits. I believe in term limits. I said, I will never, ever, ever serve more than 6 years. Gosh, I wanted it to be more than 2. I slept on a floor in my office. I came home every weekend. I held more open to the public town halls than any member of Congress in this country. But that's not the norm. Our politicians have separated themselves from us. They go to Washington, they go to Springfield for life. They live according to their own rules, Republican and Democrat. They give themselves their own pensions, not pensions we get. They impose laws on all of us. They treat themselves differently. Our politicians are to blame. Who else is to blame? My wife's favorite subject, the media. The media. Hey, 45-second history lesson. I started saying this 3.5 years ago. I believe it more strongly now. Here's where we are in 45 seconds. This great, good, decent country is going through a revolution. This is a revolution every bit as significant as the Civil War. We are having a fight, a debate, a scrum match between 2 visions of America. There's the vision of America that we all probably believe in. That vision. Freedom. You're born with God-given rights. God-given rights. Do you know that when you poll most Americans, and you ask most Americans where these rights come from, my right to be packing right now. Don't worry, I'm not. My right to worship whatever God I want. My right to say whatever I want to say about George W. Bush or Barack Obama. My right to hang out with whoever I want to hang out with. These basic God-given rights. When you poll most Americans, especially most young people, they tell us these rights come from government. Come from government. Okay? In the original America, they were given to us by God, and they protect us from government. So in the original America, you're born with God-given rights, government can't step on them. In the original America, you make $1, that's your money. That's your money. Even our founders believed in a little bit of government. So out of that $1 you make, our founders believed, you keep 91 cents of it. It's your money. Our founders called it the fruits of your labor. You are free. And I don't know about you, but if I make $1 and I get to keep 91 cents of it, that's pretty darn free. I am free to go live my life. This is what our founders believed. But then I am also responsible for my own life. Wait a minute. Oh, baby. Our founders believed, now, come on, play with me. I'm keeping my own money, right? So now, when my parents get old, I take care of my parents. I'm keeping my own money, right? I go out and shop for my own health care. When my neighbor down the street loses his or her job, the neighborhood helps take care of that neighbor. I contribute to whatever charity I want to contribute to. I get involved in my church. Because I get to keep my money, I start my own business. I am free and I am responsible. And government is only there to do a few basic things and maybe take care of those who can't take care of themselves. It's your money, it's your life. In about a minute, I just described what this country was founded upon. Walk over here, the America we live in now, totally different America. That $1 you make, the America we live in now is us. You make that $1, it's not your money. And I'm not kidding. I had too many conversations in Washington with Democrats and Republicans who truly don't believe it's your money. But that makes sense, right? Because right now, in the America we live in right now, out of that $1 you make, you're not keeping 50 cents of it. Most Americans don't keep half of what they make. And that number of what government takes goes up every year. Most Americans keep about 40 to 48% of that $1. I don't know about where you're sitting right now. That's not free. They don't think it's your money in Springfield. Which way is Springfield? I want to make sure I get it right. In Springfield. So which way would Washington be? Same way. Washington. They don't think it's your money, which makes it so easy for them to take more and more of it. I mean, I remember sitting in meetings with Republicans around a table, and we'd be talking about the tax rates and what we got to do here and there, and they're talking about this money, tax money, like it's monopoly money. And I go, wait a minute, whose money is this? So now the America we live in, you make $1, you don't keep half of it. So now in this new America that we live in, that we've lived in for over 100 years, when your parents get old, boop, push them off onto some government-run program, government-run healthcare program. In the new America we live in, your neighbor's out of a job. What happens to that neighbor? He or she's on unemployment insurance forever. In the new America, Government will provide health care for all. Everybody want to go to college? Government will let everybody go to college. Government now does everything. These two Americas, folks, are fighting. And look, I stand before you. I'm only 27 years old. Look how old I am. This is 3 years campaigning and in Washington. 27, full head of gray hair. Because we're at war. These two Americas are fighting. I feel a lot more comfortable over here. We're fighting. Now, I know, I was on TV a lot when I was a congressman. I was all over the place. I loved going on MSNBC. I loved going on CNN. Fox was boring. I wanted to go fight with these idiots. I had more fun spending 15 minutes pounding Chris Matthews than probably, I'll be careful, than a lot of, we are at war. These two Americas are fighting. The problem is, a lot of Americans get sick of the fight. Oh, I wish you would just get along in Washington. Why are you always yelling at each other? Come on, Walsh. Why did you say the president's a liar? Why do you say mean things? Thank God we're fighting. Before we started to fight, before the Tea Party movement began about 5 years ago, we were asleep. This great, good, decent country was asleep. And that side got bigger every minute of every day. Now, what's wrong with that, America? By the way, we all live here right now. We don't live here anymore. We want to go back to this, but we don't live here. What's wrong with this, America? Start at the top. We can't afford it. Don't ever say those words lightly. Hey, sweetie, I may need some water.
Right.
Oh, this is mine?
Yes.
See, look, you know, I'm always giving people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
We can't afford this. We can't afford this, America. Let that sink in. Pick whatever government program you want to pick. Oh, I don't know, I'll grab one, Medicare. If we don't change Medicare, it will be gone in about 8 years. So we can be 80 or 70 or 50 or 40 or 30 and say, don't touch my Medicare. Okay, fine, we won't touch it. It will disappear. We can't afford this, America. Senator Tom Coburn from Oklahoma, a real smart guy, wrote a great book called The Debt Bomb. And he said something frightening. He said within 7 years, your federal government will only have enough money to do 3 things. Take care of its Medicare obligations, its Social Security obligations, and pay its interest on the debt. That is it. No defense, no border security, no nothing. He could be off by a year or 2 or 3 or 4. We can't afford this. The city of Stockton, California, silly, stupid Stockton, just went belly up. The judge let him declare bankruptcy. Illinois is bankrupt. Constitutionally, we may not be able to declare bankruptcy. We're bankrupt. Europe is on the verge of bankruptcy. Wake up! We can't afford this. That's not the most tragic aspect of the America we live in. Go back. Remember, in this America, you had a little government. Most Americans were free and they took care of their own.